I first interviewed now Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania on this show just about 10 years ago. It was back in the fall of 2015. He was running for the Democratic nomination in the Pennsylvania Senate race. I got to say, I mean, it seems like you've done great work there, but it's a town of 3,000 people. Sure. I mean, that is a very, very big leap. What makes you qualify to be a U.S. Senator going from this position, which is a pretty on-the-ground position?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it makes me uniquely qualified because all of the issues that we have dealt with in Braddock, again, inequality, safe community policing, and healthcare, all these different challenges are just the same issues, but we're going to scale it up to statewide. It's the same game played in a bigger stadium.
Fetterman was a fascinating guy, is a fascinating guy. He was the mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania, a small town just outside of Pittsburgh. And Fetterman lost that Senate primary race in 2016. He then went on to be elected lieutenant governor, and then he won the Senate primary in 2022. And that year, I was able to speak with him again as a Democratic nominee, just 4 months after he suffered a stroke on the campaign trail. He's now the senator from Pennsylvania, and the last time he was on this show was in September 2023. We've not spoken to Senator Fetterman since then. But today, a new article in New York Magazine gives a really eye-opening and at times profoundly unnerving look into Fetterman's world, from his health, both physical and mental, his politics, and urgent concerns among those closest to him. Joining me now is Ben Terris, the Washington correspondent for New York Magazine, who reported out that article. And Ben, I have to say, this was one of those pieces that I had my jaw on the floor for much of it. It's an incredible piece of reporting. So thanks for your excellent work. I mean, the major headline here in what is a very long piece is that some of the people closest to Senator Fetterman, I mean, really close, are extremely concerned about his well-being and mental health.
Yeah, that's right. It's, it was a really hard story to work on, to be honest. It was a sad story. These are a lot of people who truly believed in Fetterman for a long time, and some of them have political disagreements with him now, and a lot of people want to make this all about political disagreements. But these are people who are genuinely worried about him. They had a hard time working for him, and they want to see him get back on his recovery plan. They feel like he has fallen off the recovery plan that he was on.
Basically, this is someone who had a stroke in the campaign, had to come back from that stroke and go campaign, even as he is having severe auditory processing issues as a result, which is a nightmare if you have to talk all the time. He manages to get elected, and then he checks himself into Walter Reed for 6 weeks for depression. What are the people closest to him seeing that has them so worried?
Well, at the time, right, that was a really worrying time because he had to check into Walter Reed to begin with. And as I report in the story, he, kind of had a little bit of a break, I'd say, where he no longer could do the job without getting help. So he goes to the hospital, and at the hospital he gets treatment. And when he comes out of the hospital, after kind of a harrowing visit there for a while, he levels out, and things are good for a long time. And everybody that was working for him is really proud of him. They feel like he's done a really important thing here. He has helped destigmatize mental health. He's proving that people who have mental health issues are able to do this job if they get treatment. But over time, some of the people that I talked to started to believe that maybe he wasn't as good as he had let on, and that behind the scenes, they were having a very difficult time with him where he would shut down, he wouldn't do the job. There would be days where they'd have to clear his schedule so he wouldn't kind of be around people saying what was described as unhinged stuff. Eventually it got to a point where one of these former staffers sent a long email to Senator Fetterman's doctor to kind of, I don't know, I'd say ring the alarm bell that things weren't going well.
That's Adam Jentleson, the staffer who's named in the piece that you talked to. I should say you talked to him. You also talked to Fetterman himself. You talked to people around him. Fetterman does speak to you for the piece. Jentleson's been a frequent guest on this program. Here's just one little bit of color. This is Sherrod Brown right before that hospital admission. Or I guess a week after his hospital discharge, Democratic Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown came to pay Fetterman a visit in his new Capitol Hill office. Their meeting went awry. Brown tried his best to get a conversation going, but according to two people present, Fetterman was virtually catatonic. He was doing essentially kind of figure eights up and down and not talking to the senator. This really freaked out a lot of folks. And was that part of what got him in Walter Reed, or that was after Walter Reed?
Yeah, that's right. That's what got him to Walter
him in,
Reed.
right.
So before that, he had a moment where he had to go to George Washington because he was suffering from dehydration and was at a retreat and kind of wandered into the street and was almost hit by a car, according to my reporting, and went to GW. And a week later, he has this moment. And after this happens, the staff calls the doctor in the Senate, I believe, and they all agree it's time to get him to Walter Reed for some serious treatment.
Now, one of the things that's publicly clear is a change in the political trajectory of Fetterman, who had been he had been endorsed by Bernie Sanders. He had been sort of in the progressive wing of the party. I talked to him about in that interview I did a long time ago to his wife, who came here when she was undocumented, and he gave a very spirited defense of her being here. And he has moved to the right, I think, on a number of key issues. He still votes with the Democrats mostly, but particularly on Israel and Gaza. And there's some really unnerving things that you report him saying. He went on to make statements that shock people. In opposing a ceasefire, he said, let's get back to killing. A person who heard the conversation told me, he said, kill them all. In a statement, Fetterman denied the account, adding any reference to killing was solely about Hamas. I do support the destruction of that organization down to its last member. When a representative of a progressive pro-Israel group, Jeremy Ben-Ami, had a conversation about a two-state solution, he said to Palestinians, you can't reform sour milk. What do people around him make of his politics on this question?
Well, it's interesting. People don't really know exactly where it came from. He says he's been pro-Israel forever, and he probably has been to a degree. It's the rhetoric that is shocking people so much. It's the fact that he is the most outspoken Israel hawk in the entire Democratic Party, it seems like, that's surprising to people. And I don't want to make the claim that this has anything to do with his mental health. I think that people are surprised by this because it seems out of character for the man who kind of exuded empathy. That was his radical empathy was a big part of who he was. And this kind of rhetoric just does not square with that.
Well, this is what I want to sort of, you don't sort of define, say this definitively, but in the last 35 seconds here, I mean, you don't want to pathologize someone's politics. And yet this is a person who suffered an enormous trauma, health-wise. Like, is he a different person? Is that what the people around him say?
People around him say he's changed, sure. I don't know if he's a fully different person, but certainly the reason that the story came to be is because people can't tell anymore what is an issue that comes from his mental health and what is an issue that he, truly has always believed. The fact that you can't tell anymore is the problem.
Yeah, that is unnerving. People should read the entire piece. We can't do it justice here, but Ben Terris, thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.